Welcome back to NTV News First Edition. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD. We've all heard of it, but how much of what we've heard is accurate? Well, October is ADHD Awareness Month, and here to discuss some of the myths around ADHD, particularly in adults, is Dr. Janine Hubbard with this week's Get Psyched with Dr. Janine. It's great to see you again.
I know it's a bit of a pivot from the rest of the news items tonight, but we'll give it a best try.
Okay, so I guess myth or truth, ADHD, something that kids just grow out of?
As recently as when I was in grad school, although yes, I'm getting a little old, we thought that kids grew out of ADHD, that it was only a childhood disorder. And that was the mid-90s. We now have really come to appreciate that it does not go away. It looks different in adulthood. But it is something that if you were ever perhaps diagnosed as a kid and go, oh, whatever happened about that? Guess what? It's still there.
And I guess another, I want to ask you, myth or truth, having ADHD is no big deal as an adult if you've managed to get through school and all of that?
Unfortunately, far too common a message. There is such a big difference between surviving, getting through, and thriving. I often describe individuals with ADHD, especially adults, as like, you know, you can decide if you're a duck or a swan. On the surface, people think everything's going okay. What they're not seeing is all of that frantic paddling that's going on behind the scenes, all of the additional effort, all of the self-blame, all of the emotional toil that ADHD can take on an individual. Not to mention the impact it can have on relationships, it can have on work performance, it can have on substance use, and actually there's a whole lot of research showing that untreated ADHD can significantly reduce your life expectancy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was going to ask you, there's people at home saying, you know, I may have ADHD, but I seem to have gotten along pretty good so far in life. So why should they bother exploring a diagnosis at this point?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, we know that it has an incredibly strong genetic factor. It's about 75%, which means if you are someone who perhaps is wondering about having ADHD, you very likely have family members, including possibly children, who very well may have ADHD as well. So making sure that it is understood within the family can make a huge difference. The other thing that we see is for a lot of adults, it's almost that light bulb moment. If you've ever seen the videos of little kids putting on glasses or getting like a cochlear implant for the first time, and they're suddenly seeing the world through a whole different perspective. I hear that particularly from adults. And again, we know that the risk factors involved can really be life-altering. So it's something that, especially for the generation kind of 30 and above, we really didn't pick up on the same way, especially in girls and women who tend to present as inattentive and tend to compensate in ways that it gets missed. So if you are an adult and you're hearing this and you're thinking, maybe I have some questions, or perhaps you're someone who's already been diagnosed. One of the reasons we wanted to jump ahead of October ADHD Awareness Month is there's a free public event on September 30th, 7:30 down at the Delta, and it's going to be a panel of experts, and you can ask your questions. I'm hoping we have it up on the screen. You can visit apnl.ca or caddac.ca for registration information, more information, and we're really hoping that this is going to be a way to spread some awareness about adult ADHD in particular.
Dr. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much for coming in, and I'm sure we're going to be speaking much more about this in the coming days.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.